Hello everyone, welcome. This is Nick from Top Sports, and today we got a lot to discuss. Let's hop right into this thing.
180. 180 set.
Hello everyone, welcome. This is Nick from Top Sports. Today we're going over the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles salary review and offseason moves for 2023. In 2022, the Philadelphia Eagles under head coach Nick Sirianni and quarterback Jalen Hurts finished with a record of 14-3, finishing first in the NFC East, beating the Giants in the playoffs, then beating the Niners, ultimately losing to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl by a score of 38-35. Throwing that Super Bowl aside, Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts showed great signs of growth in year two. The unfortunate part about this Philadelphia Eagles team, you lost offensive coordinator Shane Steichen to the Colts, and now you lost defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon to the Arizona Cardinals. The question is going to be, can this Philadelphia Eagles team rebound, get back to where they just were after losing their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator? They got a phenomenal team on paper, but how are they going to make this happen without the coordinators? Not only that, you got to look at GM Howie Roseman, one of the greatest GMs I feel like in the National Football League right now. He's been able to make moves to make this team compete every single season. The question for him is going to be this: can he get the cap space to a spot, which he always does, to be able to make signings and re-sign some of these players that need to be extended this offseason? Ladies and gentlemen, these numbers that we got in this video were from about a month and a half ago when we started this series. We're not going to change it now. They're slightly inflated. They are inflated. I want to repeat, they are inflated. But listen, I'd rather these numbers be inflated than deflated, because there's ways and things that the owner and GM can do that we don't do in this series that, can free up cap space. Converting money to signing bonuses, can free up a lot of cap space that we just don't do here. Restructuring contracts, something else we don't do in this video. So real fast, the numbers are going to be slightly inflated, but again, it's very possible that the Eagles will have the amount of money that we have them having on this video. This was their projected cap space about a month and a half ago, right when we started this series for all the other teams, and we're going to keep going with it right now. And the other thing I want to mention before we hop into this, though, this is a mock off season, mock draft, mock free agency. So let's hop right into this thing. Here we are here. Okay, in the top left corner of the screen, when we conducted this video, the cap space for this Eagles team is at $10.5 million. Right now, I believe they're at like -2 to -10. Again, restructuring contracts, converting money to signing bonuses, things that we don't do in this video, can get you right up to this $10.5 million range, which is right where you're at. Guys in green here are guys that you cut, you save money. Guys in red, you cut, you lose money. Plain and simple. The guys that are currently on the screen are guys that are currently under contract. Anybody that's not on the screen are guys that you got to re-sign or extend this offseason. Okay, so go around real fast. Let me know who you would cut. Again, somebody, I just want to, give you an example here. If you cut Trey Sermon, you save $1.1 million in cap space. If you cut someone like Jordan Mailata, which you would never do, but if you were to do it, you will lose $19.5 million. So you definitely wouldn't cut nobody in red. You might consider cutting some of the guys in green, but there's really no money. No, I shouldn't say no money. There's nobody here listed that has a high cap, savings. So in reality, there's not many guys that you might cut listed on the screen, but there are some guys that are hidden off the screen that we may have you cutting. But before we talk about that and do our predictions, we're going to look at our notable losses. Here are our notable losses. These are the guys that are currently not under contract and need to be re-signed, or they're going to be let go into free agency. Real fast, before we hop into who they are, I want to talk about the percent of snaps played. This number is calculated by the percent of snaps played the player plays when they're actively on the game day lineup. The players on the IR for 16 games this season, they're not actively on the game day lineup. Therefore, it doesn't get counted against them. So if they're on the IR for 16 games this season, but they played one game, and that game they played 100% of the snaps, this number would unfortunately show 100% of the snaps played this season. I know it's disgusting. I just want to give you a forewarning of what this number means. So if there's a guy here that, only played like 30% of the snaps this season, it says 100, That may be why. Let's go. Here we go. Defensive tackle Javon Hargrave had a hell of a year this year. Started contract is a 3-year, $60.4 million deal. He plays 64% of the snaps. Next guy, safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Expected contract is a 5-year, $70.3 million deal. He played 92% of the snaps. Next guy, offensive guard Isaac Salomalo. His expected contract is a 2-year, $24.2 million deal. He played 91% of the snaps. Next guy, center Jason Kelsey. His expected contract is a 1-year, $11.9 million deal. He played 97% of the snaps. Next guy, running back Miles Sanders. Expected contract is a 2-year, $14.4 million deal. He played 58% of the snaps. Defensive end Brandon Graham. Expected contract is a 1-year, $3.3 million deal. He played 42% of the snaps. Defensive tackle Fletcher Cox. Expected contract is a 2-year, $28 million deal. He plays 64% of the snaps. Offensive tackle Andre Dillard. He is expected contract is a 3-year, $25.5 million deal. He played 5% of the snaps. And last but not least, cornerback James Bradbury. Expected contract is a 3-year, $51.5 million deal. He played 97% of the snaps. Now, typically, a good rule of thumb here is this. If the guy played a high percent of the snaps, and they play well during those high percent of snaps, and the regime doesn't change, and the team has a good cap situation, the regime will usually try to bring these guys back. The Eagles are in an iffy situation, okay? And we're not going to try to bend the rules. We're already bending the rules with giving you more cap money that you have. But again, we're not going to bend the moves here, the rules here. I would love to see this team retain Jason Kelsey because they probably are going to find a way to do it if he decides to play. I would love to bring back Brandon Graham. I would love to bring back Fletcher Cox. These guys have been Eagles for life, But the odds are, in this video, I just can't bend these rules. Will it likely happen? There's a chance if they take team-friendly deals. And there's a chance Howie Roseman finds a way to bend the rules like he always does. All the good GMs are able to do this. But I'm not going to sit here and do that for you guys. I don't do it for any of the teams. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to use a hard cap. Okay? So again, in the next slide, you're going to see what our potential targets are. Here are our potential targets. Okay, so you got $10.5 million in estimated cap space. We get you cutting Trey Sermon, cutting Derek Barnett, and cutting Ian Butt, which saves up $15.1 million in total estimated cap space available. With those moves, we're able to bring back and re-sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to the 5-year, $70 million deal, which is a $14 million cap hit. If you traded for him, it's likely you're going to want to try to retain him. He played well. He's a good guy for nickel. I think he could be a really solid weapon for you guys. He's nice and young. Somebody you definitely want to probably try to bring back. You just brought him in. You're going to probably want to retain him. There's a good shot somehow, some way, you bring in more people. But according to our model, you only got $1.1 million left in cap space. And again, there are ways to bend the rules. We're not going to do it. Okay, we're not going to do it. But what do we got you guys doing in that draft? And I'm going to tell you something right now. I think you rocked this draft. I think you hit a grand slam. I think Bryce Harper's hitting this ball out of the park, okay, for you Philadelphia fans. So what do we got? First, we're going to look at our team needs. Running back, center, offensive tackle, linebacker, cornerback, and safety. Well, your safety needs being filled because we're re-signing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Okay, but now what? All right, well, you got 2 first-round picks, a second and a third. Well, the first round, we're going to draft cornerback Joey Porter from Penn State to fill in that cornerback need since you're losing James Bradbury. Okay, so now you got Joey Porter, Darius Slay, and you got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who can play that safety or that nickel role. Okay, well, in the later first round, we're going to bring in the best running back in the draft class, Bijan Robinson, to fill in for Miles Sanders, who you're losing. Okay, so you're really losing anybody? If anything, I'm going to be honest with you. Joey Porter, I don't think he'll be I haven't watched his film yet, to be honest with you. I got done with all the offensive players. I'm on defense now. But I don't think that he's going to fill in James Bradbury's shoes on day one. I'll have to watch his film. Maybe he can, but I really like James Bradbury. But I feel like he's a solid piece to slide in there and replace him. Will he be as good? No, but I think he could be solid for you guys. So not only are you bringing in Joey Porter to fill in that void, I think you're bringing in Bijan Robinson, who I have a way better running back than Miles Sanders. All right, now what? In the second round, I get you bringing offensive tackle Cody Mauch. Now, again, when we did this mock draft, I didn't know a lot of these guys. But let me tell you something. Cody Mauch is one of my highest graded offensive tackles. I think he's listed as my highest graded. I think he'll be better suited in the interior, whether he plays offensive guard or offensive tackle. I think he could be a phenomenal offensive guard. But again, you play him offensive tackle. Look, this guy wants to hit people, okay? He's a tough-nosed football player. He's physical. He's going to want to run people into the ground. I love this guy. I will love this pick for this team. And then again, you add versatility, whether you play as left tackle like you did in college, or you can play him at guard, whether or not he's a starter this year. You might want to bring him in and play him that next year, maybe start him over Isaac Salomalo because you're losing him. right? So you got options here for sure with this Eagles team. And last but not least, in the third round, we're going to bring in linebacker Dorian Williams. So now when you look at your team needs, what do we got? Well, we got you bringing in Cody Mouch for that offensive tackle need. We got you bringing in Bijan Robinson to fill in that running back need. We got you drafting Dorian Williams also to fill in that linebacker need. And we got you drafting Joey Porter for that cornerback need. You know, you're losing Jason Kelce, but let's look, in this model, you're losing Jason Kelce. I don't know what's going to happen in real life, but let me tell you this. He handpicked Cam Jurgens. So it may be his time to shine, okay? And I don't think it's necessarily a need. If you move on from Jason Kelce, you should probably try to bring in somebody else that can play center. And you might have somebody on your roster already that can do that. But again, Cam Jurgens is the guy. So we'll see how he does. In the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, maybe you bring in a center to give him a crack. So this is what you got doing. Now we're going to look at our 2023 expected lineup. Here is our 2023 expected lineup with the moves that we made. Okay, so you see blue and orange. You don't see green. You don't see yellow. It's good that you don't see yellow. Yellow we list as placeholder. Those are the guys that we feel like, need to be replaced by this team. I'm happy to tell you guys, you have not a single placeholder in our eyes on this team. Are there some guys that we say, we might question, right? Yeah, possibly, right? Some of these interior offensive linemen. I mean, Cam Jurgens, it's going to be a huge job for him to step up. Okay, next year. But again, I love Landon Dickerson. I love Jordan Mailata. Lane Johnson's been phenomenal. And then Jack Driscoll, I don't know much about him, but I'm sure you guys do way more than I do. Cody Mouch is a guy, in my opinion, if any of these guys in the interior struggle, I wouldn't say Cam Jurgens. You just slide Cody Mouch year one at the guard position, and play him there. He'll be phenomenal at guard. And again, when it's Lane Johnson's time to retire, you plug in Cody Mouch at right tackle, and I think he'll do a fine job. You got phenomenal receivers, okay, with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. But before I go into your tangent about your whole team, again, you don't see yellow for placeholders. You don't see green. That's our signings from free agency. You don't have the money to sign people. You see orange. That means we re-signed somebody. We re-signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to play safety / that nickel position. And last but not least, you see light blue. These are draft picks. We're drafting Joey Porter in the first round. We're drafting Bijan Robinson in the first round. We're drafting Cody Mouch in the second round. We're drafting Dorian Williams in the third round. And now when you look at this team, we don't really have many weaknesses. Again, the only thing I have in question, in my humble opinion, is that interior offensive line. Your running back position, in my opinion, got upgraded. You got some depth here with the tackle position. Of course, if you lose Jason Kelce, you're losing out on an all-pro, all-star, future Hall of Fame center. Okay, but I feel like maybe, between this mixture of guys, you got guys that can possibly fill in, not be as good, but can fill in and, produce. You got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I had Devontae Smith higher ranked than Jamar Chase coming out of college. And you know what? I think you'll slowly start to see that Devontae Smith may be an all-around better receiver. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. I know he's not as big, right? But this guy can high point the ball better than Jamar Chase. I'm sorry, he can. He's a better route runner. And one thing for sure about this damn guy is he has better hands all around. Watch Jamar Chase. I think he was tied for the most drops in the NFL this year. Okay, Devontae Smith has really good hands, can high point like nobody else. For his size, being as small as he is and as skinny as he is, he can high point the football better than anybody, I feel like, or he's up there with the best guys in the National Football League. You pair him up with A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, this receiving core is absolutely phenomenal. You look at your defensive side. All right, you're losing James Bradbury, but you're replacing him with Joey Porter. Again, a slight downgrade, but youth. Okay, in the linebacker position, Dorian Williams to play. In that linebacker position for you guys after you lose TJ Edwards. Okay, so I look at this team. You're really not downgrading anywhere, in my opinion. I feel like you're just getting younger, and this happens to teams. Last season, here's my prediction. Last season, the Philadelphia Eagles went 14-3, finished first in the NFC East, and ultimately lost in the Super Bowl. After losing their offensive coordinator in Shane Steichen, which I feel like will be a huge loss, and losing their defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, which I don't feel like will be as big as a loss, I feel like this team will take a few steps backwards, but ultimately their roster is not getting much worse. I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles, in year 3 under Nick Sirianni and quarterback Jalen Hurts, will finish with a record of 12-5, finish first in the NFC East, and make the playoffs and try to make a push. Again, I'm going to say 12-5, finish first in the NFC East, and they're going to try to make a push. I think they're taking a step backwards. I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl again after losing your coordinators. But I feel like you'll see that this team is going to be a consistent playoff team. and a team that can consistently compete in the playoffs for years to come. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hopefully you enjoy this video. Again, it's for entertainment purposes. I know our numbers are not perfect right now, but again, it's tough to cover all 32 teams, and I got to keep it consistent. Every team had plus 10 to $15 million in this series. So now I got to do the same for you guys to keep it fair. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, hopefully you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are Built Better.